Let me do that again if I could talk properly. All right, what's up, y'all? Today we're gonna take a look at this video from YouTube channel Christina Aaliyah. I'll link to her down below so you can check it out since it's her video. We're gonna listen and kind of react and talk about this topic, which is Gen Z undateable? You know, it's a big topic right now about the dating pool and the dating life and dating in general, how bad, bad it is and all of that. So let's see what she has to say on this video. Kind of went kind of viral for her. So let's dive into it, see what happens here.
Gen Z is undateable. I know why you're here.
I am 21 and I've never had a boyfriend.
This is coming from someone who's never been in a relationship.
And I'm in my 20s right now.
What age is it a red flag if somebody says they've never been in a serious relationship?
20.
I've calculated.
Yo, there's nothing wrong with being in your 20s and not having a serious relationship. Like, let's be honest here. You know, if you're 15, 16, you're in a little puppy love high school relationship, it's not really real. Bro, even some of these people, which I hate hearing it, when people are in a relationship in their teen, like 16, and they've been with somebody for like 6, 7 years until their early 20s, mid 20s, that's all they've known. That's such a terrible thing. You know what I mean? It really is, 'cause you don't get to experience nothing, and it kind of sets you back in a certain regard. But I honestly don't think there's nothing wrong with just cruising through your teenage years. I'm not saying you can't like date and have a relationship, but like to be in something serious and long term, like I don't think so. I think that you're better suited to doing that when you're more financially and emotionally like established and set, and then you can really bring something to a relationship. You know, when you in your late teens, early 20s, like, what do you really got? You only got nothing. You know what I'm saying?
I've been on around 80 dates, and maybe you've been on more, maybe you've been on less. But one thing that I'm sure we've all thought to ourselves is, what's wrong with me? Why haven't I been in a relationship yet? Am I looking in the right places? How do I meet people in real life?
I didn't date at all until my late 20s.
Only time I held hands with a guy that wasn't my family was that I had to dance in a literal circle.
And when I say I didn't date, I mean I didn't do anything until I was 26.
I don't think there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, there's nothing wrong with she definitely keeping it. She keeping that thing locked, you know what I mean? But I don't think there's nothing wrong getting into your 20s, mid 20s, and you haven't really dove into anything super serious. You know what I'm saying? Now, whether or not you're sexually active is a different thing. I don't, you know.
And then you see like kids who are younger than you in relationships.
I had no idea what a relationship was like. I'd never slept with someone before. I'd never gone on a date. I never held hands with anyone. Nothing.
I'm 26 and I've never been on a date. I've never been on like a legit official date.
Here's the thing about that too, though. If you ask them what is their idea of a date, they probably went on the date. They're just not what they imagine in their head or what they are led to believe a date is. I'm willing to bet if you were to ask them to describe what like an actual date is with you, they're gonna be like, oh, you picked me up, you opened the door, we got dressed up, went to this nice restaurant, it was this whole magical fairy tale experience. And I bet you, I'm willing to bet that is their interpretation, their idea of like what a date is, when in fact a date can be much more simpler than that. And it's not like that. I'm not saying that you can't have a date that is like that, but you can certainly do something that's more fun, or an adventurous date, something more chill date, and that still constitutes date. But in their minds, it doesn't qualify because it's not in their mind what a date is supposed to be like. You know,
It's easy to blame our singleness on the age of social media and being chronically online, but there's a few more reasons you might not have thought of as to why Gen Z is undateable. If you're new, I'm Christina and I make videos for people who are feeling lonely. If you're a people pleaser, overthinker, overachiever, over anythinger, you're in the right place. We have seen statistic after statistic, article over article, constant media coverage on the fact that Gen Z is very much single. Whether by choice or not, a lot of us are in our single era. Maybe we want to focus on ourselves, or maybe we're not. Maybe we're single and we actually want to be in our first relationship for once. There's lots of videos circulating on the internet on this topic, but there's a few things that people just aren't talking about.
I mean, I'm just really curious here because I already know where I'm gonna go with this, but I'm gonna hold it for a second just to kind of see where she wants to dive into this before I share my thoughts. You know what I'm saying? Go on a cruise and get some tacos and a drink, and I call it a date. Yeah, I mean, that could be as simple as that for sure.
Gen Z want to be perfect. I'll start dating when I graduate. I'll start dating when I have a good job. I'll start dating when I lose weight. I'll start dating when I have good money. We all want to be perfect for our partners, and when you think about it in a way, it's very, very sweet. It's very endearing. We are a generation that we actually want to present our best selves to our partners. We don't want to come like half-heartedly. We don't want to come to a partner as a project that's not quite finished yet or not quite at its best. We all want to be perfect.
And there within lies a big part of the problem, y'all, is that if you think about like my parent, your grandparent, you know what I mean? Like things are never perfect. And I think that is something that social media has, as a byproduct of it, has, whether it's purposely or unintentionally, I think it's maybe more unintentionally, but that is what is essentially implanted in the brains of people, is because we see the certain lifestyles and the aesthetics on social media, then we then believe that I have to have the same look, the same this, the same that is what I see. And so therefore it starts to imprint in people's brains that like, before I can get with someone, I got to be perfect. I have to have everything in a row. I got to lose 30 pounds. I got to make $30,000 more in salary. You see what I'm saying? Like it starts to add these self-imposed ideas of what you need to have in order, before you can even partake in the dating process, when I fundamentally don't believe that that's necessary. You think about our parents, grandparents, their parents and grandparents, like they didn't always have everything in their ducks in order. And the reality is, the way life is set up, you never really have all your ducks in a row. You might have a few of them in the line. You might have quite a bit, but you never have everything lined up perfectly. It's the way life is. Life's going to throw you curveballs. There's always going to be challenges on various levels that you have to overcome and deal with. So you're never going to be perfect. And the perfect situation doesn't exist. And a lot of people are sitting back, holding themselves back, waiting for the perfect situation, the perfect storm to happen to allow them rather to get involved, to then date. They're looking for the perfect, and then if it's not that, then it's this one, right? And let me know how many of y'all, understand this part. People are looking for the perfect partner. And again, it doesn't exist. These things don't exist. There's no perfect person. There's no perfect partner. You can have someone that brings a lot, has a lot of qualities and things that you value, but they're not going to have everything. It's the 80-20 rule.
And as endearing as that is, that's probably one of the main reasons why our generation is so single. I think when you're constantly online, you see so many other people achieving big things in life. Maybe it's nothing crazy like becoming millionaires at 19 or buying a Lamborghini at 24. Maybe it's nothing crazy like that. But you see people that you went to high school with, like buying a house. Or you see people that you went to college with, like having their first baby. Someone that you were colleagues with who's just got a promotion into a huge company in a new position. You've got so many people in your life that you were aligned with that have maybe made major moves, which is great for them, but then it makes you put conditions on when you will get to those moves. Like, I'll start dating when I have money.
Exactly.
I'll start dating when I look better. I'll start dating when I have the right wardrobe. I feel like Gen Z is less and less open to being imperfect and a little bit flawed. And compared to other generations like millennials and the generation before that, I feel like they maybe embrace their flaws a little bit more, and we definitely embrace them less. One of the main reasons why is because we have so many expectations. Going into anything nowadays, it's starting a new side hustle, going into a new job, going to a certain university, going into a relationship. There's so many expectations as to what will happen. Like, people have made a million videos on how to get a boyfriend or how to get a situationship to progress into a relationship, how to get into this university, how to get this job, how to have a successful pregnancy delivery situation. There's expectations and a rule book for everything, and it means that you put so many expectations on how it has to happen. If I have a relationship, it has to look like this.
She's basically saying what I just said. Welcome to the video. I just managed to say everything she said in the first 4 minutes of the video. You know what I mean? And that's exactly what it is. We're putting these unrealistic, terms on our lives. And yeah, we're talking, this video is about dating, but this extends way beyond dating. This idea. And then listen, I'm gonna tell y'all, when I was in my early 20s, I thought the same thing. I thought I had to have all my shit together by like 25, 26. I thought I had to have all of these things accumulated, ready to go by that age. And I also thought that hitting 30 meant I was over the hill. And then you get to 30, you're like, oh shit, like I'm young as fuck. You know what I mean? So we need to remove these preconceived notions in our minds that really hamper us back, not only in dating, but in life in general. You know what I mean? Things will happen when they do happen. And certainly that doesn't mean you just wait for something to happen. You got to be proactive to set yourself up for things. But I say that to say that as you're setting, as you're setting yourself up to achieve things and do things, as you're doing those things, it'll happen when it then happens, if that makes sense. You know what I mean?
Has to say this. He can't do this. There's like rules for everything.
Unrealistic perspectives. True. You must love yourself and God first. Absolutely.
I know for me, when I've gone on dates and I have expectations in my mind, I'm definitely not as open, and I don't think that's a good thing. Sometimes people say for a reason, don't they? When you're least expecting something, that's when it will happen.
Yeah, sure.
Expectations can sometimes hinder the dating process. You might think you have an idea of exactly what you want, and maybe you've watched those manifestation videos that tell you to write a list of what you're looking for in a partner. All that is great, but sometimes when you think you know what you want, on one hand, oh, I want this, I want him to tick all of these boxes, there's going to be something else that you've not even thought of, never even met, never even like comprehended, that could be even better than what you want. I was on TikTok looking at different videos on this topic, and this one I saved in particular. I've not watched it yet. I want to watch it with you guys.
I am 21 and I've never had a boyfriend. Is that weird?
No, there's nothing wrong with it.
That is not in any way weird. You hear me? When I was 21, I knew absolutely nothing about boys. I'm 23 years old now, and I have many friends who are just as old as me, and they have never had a boyfriend, and they have never even had their first kiss. And this is a very healthy thing. Taking your time is
That's another thing with social media. There is no rush. Like, you see anything that you want, like, not even just relationships, anything you want career-wise, emotional-wise, weight loss-wise, clothing-wise, fashion-wise, Instagram-wise, someone has had it younger than you, and sometimes that puts so much pressure for you to hurry up. But in reality, like, what are you hurrying up for?
I think that's also part of the social media problem, is because it's these algorithms and let's say, for example, we'll take it outside of dating. Let's say it's about your health, and you want to lose a couple of pounds, whatever it is. So you watch a video about, maybe it's on some exercises to help you lose some stomach fat or something, or whatever it be. You watch one, the algorithm catches on that, like, that's what you're interested in and engaging with. Now it starts feeding you videos more of that stuff, and then you start seeing these people with ripped bodies, and you're like, holy shit. Like, you look at yourself and you're looking at all your feed of just people chiseled or super toned, and you're like, fuck, like it messes with people's heads. You know what I mean? And I think that's the unintended consequences of these social media platforms and these algorithms, especially, they keep you there, keep you hooked and all that stuff.
You don't know the chapters of your life that are yet to come. Everything happens exactly as it's meant to, and it's a shame because we only ever see that in hindsight.
Because you cannot do anything worse than have certain experiences too early just because other people are having them and you think that you are missing out. You are on your own personal timeline that
Facts.
needs to work for you and only for you and for no one else, because you need to live with your choices, not your friends, not your parents, not the people around you. You need to live with your choices.
Yeah, that's so true, because a lot of times people measure their life against what they see on social media and the people around them. And that is, I promise you y'all, that is the single worst thing you can do, is if you allow yourself to succumb to that. If you allow yourself to judge your life, your accomplishments against that of someone else's, because you have different life paths, you have different everything, and it's never apples to apples comparisons. So when you do sit there and think about, oh, so-and-so's got it like this and they're my age, so-and-so's got the husband and wife and they're my age, well, like, they have a totally different life. You can't even remotely compare the two, and what's meant for you is meant for you. You know what I mean?
And if you can sleep.
Creole Brown, what's up? Hernandez, we need more haven't had a boyfriend girls, man, because it seems the high majority these days competing for who has the most body or something. Disgusting. Yeah, ain't nothing wrong with that either. You know what I'm saying? So,
Sleep
I hear
at
you.
night knowing that you're not pained by a broken heart, then girl, that is a win.
That is a win, for sure. Sometimes when we think relationships, we automatically assume it's going to be positive, and that's a good bias to have. It's definitely a good bias to have, but sometimes I think you can be a bit blindsided and you might romanticize the process a bit too much and forget that sometimes relationships can be actually really, really toxic or really sad, really abusive, really like not what you'd expect. It can be your worst nightmare.
It's true.
So sometimes when you're not having a certain thing, don't.
How many of y'all have been in some toxic, terrible relationships? Huh? I'm willing to bet more times than not, most people have had for sure at least one, if not two or three. You know what I mean?
Just assume you're missing out on a good thing. You might be missing out on a very bad thing.
Relationship when I was 21, and before that I had never even really been in the same room with a guy alone ever. And honestly, it was an experience and I learned a lot from it, but also part of why I went into that relationship was because I felt like everybody else had already been through it and I was kind of falling behind, and I was scared that I, wouldn't find anybody that really liked me.
That's another part of it, which is the peer pressure. A lot of times it's not even direct peer pressure, because what she just described right there, right, is the idea that everyone around her homegirls, are experiencing boys and doing stuff with boys, right? Both physical and dating and all of that. And because she isn't, now she's not able to engage with her friends to the extent that when they're talking about boyfriends and all the boy stuff, oh, I kissed my first boy, I kissed, all that stuff that girls will do. And same thing, and don't get me wrong, this happens with guys too, what I'm saying? For guys that are not at the same point where their friends are, they're going to be missing out on those conversations with their boys. Like, oh man, I was rubbing her ass. And you're the one there like, I never rubbed on a girl's ass. And while none of your friends are like, yo, bro, you got to go smash some guts. You got to go smash. Just the mere fact of them having those conversations and you're not able to engage with your friends on these, what are now common experiences for the majority of them, you start to feel a pressure. And you just then decide, like what she kind of described here, about giving a shot, to kind of see what it is and experience it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, sometimes I think we can settle for less. If you're the sort of person that's clicked on this video, if you've ever seen those 19 and never had a boyfriend, 21 never had a girlfriend, if you've ever seen those videos, sometimes when you're like two in your head,
I should just troll and put up a video and be like, I've never had a girlfriend, and see how that goes.
Thinking too much about that sort of thing, you're catastrophizing and trying to nitpick at yourself and break apart all the reasons why you are single and why you're going to be forever alone. Sometimes it will make you settle for less. Like, you'll see someone come along that maybe you wouldn't have gone for initially. They don't tick all the things on your list, on your manifestation list.
There you go.
But you're going to settle because you're like, oh, I have to, I'm behind. Like, you're not behind. How could you ever be behind? No one else has lived your life before.
That's true.
Experienced it, so why not do it now? And so I rushed into it and obviously got hurt in the process. And so in many ways, I do wish I would have waited for that right person instead of thinking, oh, but I am too old now and, I'm just missing out. You're not missing out.
Yo, on the point, this needs to be said. This might be a little bit of a hot take, one of many I have, but this whole idea of the right person, let me tell y'all, man, there's like no such thing, man. Like the idea of waiting for someone to do something with as the right person, whether losing your virginity or, deciding to be intimate with someone or whatever, it's not like the perfect person. It's the person that's like you're comfortable with, I think, is what it really should be. Like the person you're comfortable with, that you feel safe with, and then you just kind of do it.
You are creating the best version of yourself and loving yourself, learning to love yourself. And that makes you way more ahead than other people are, because other people try to find validation in their relationship and in other people. Yep. And then they hurt those people because they don't even love themselves. Whereas it's way smarter to learn to love yourself first and then commit to somebody else.
Yo, Shorty's cooking, man. She's really cooking. I couldn't agree anymore with what she said right there. You got to make peace with yourself and be happy with yourself. And when you are, and you're comfortable in your own skin, you can really then, I think you're then ready for something that involves another person. You know what I mean? Too many times, far too much, we see people that are not happy themselves seek the happiness from a relationship, and those are some of the most toxic ones. Because here's a perfect scenario of like how that plays out. Person, this could be male or female, so don't get wrapped up on like the gender here, but the one person isn't really like happy with themselves and whatever it may be, right? So they go out and they get somebody, becomes their boyfriend and their girlfriend, and they pour themselves into it way too much. And then when something doesn't work out and the other person leaves them or they break up, now they're like crashing out. They're crashing out. Why are they crashing out? Because they were receiving the love and whatever other things they were getting out of it from the other person that they never gave to themselves. And because they're losing it, they're freaking out. You know what I mean? So if you're not taking the steps to love yourself, be comfortable with who you are, and in all aspects, y'all. I'm talking about physically, mentally, spiritually. If you believe in such, if you're not content with that, you're not gonna really be happy, and you're gonna have like this falsehood idea of being with someone's gonna give you that happiness. It may be there while you're together, but when it ends, and let's be real, most times it ends at some point. You know what I mean? You're going to be miserable, and it's going to be a crash out horror story breakup.
Right?
Word, that was facts. When it comes to relationships, your level of patience reflects your level of confidence. If you are rushing into something and desperate to get into something now, this week, this month, that's just a sign that you lack a lot of confidence. And sometimes I think when you settle, it's not even because you believe you deserve this thing you've settled for. You know you don't deserve the way that they treat you, the way that they take 3 days to reply to your messages. Like, you know you don't deserve that, but your confidence is lacking and it shows in your lack of patience. Another reason Gen Z are undateable is Gen Z refuse to open up. I'm not going to tell you how I feel. I'm not going to talk about my feelings. I'm not going to be vulnerable. I'm not going to share my deepest, darkest secrets. I'm not going to share all the things I actually need to have a relationship. This one is very much a personal one for me because I cannot open up. Being vulnerable is something I've struggled with for such a long time. But what I've come to realize in therapy and talking to people and eventually opening up is if you can't open up, you can't connect. If you want connection, you want a relationship, even just deep, really good friendships that people just know you, you have to open up. You can't have a surface level friendship and expect your friends to care about you. I'm sure we've all had that where you've been friends with someone, you've been like small talk friends is what I like to call it. Like you talk about like little things, like what's on the TV, the weather, like school, you talk about college, you talk about work, you talk about surface level stuff. But if you got like a health scare or a family emergency, like you wouldn't be able to tell them, you'd be too scared. If you had like, I don't know, a talking stage, like fall apart, like you wouldn't be able to tell them because you just don't open up in that way. In anything, whether it's friendships or relationships, the depth of vulnerability is going to be the depth of the relationship. Like,
yeah, she cooked on that one. That's so true. You, at a certain point, you do have to expand, open up a bit. I think the trick here with that is determining, who exactly do you do that with. And I think that's the probably going to be the scary part for most people is this the person that I can, open up to? One, how are they going to react to it when I, take things to that level and sharing very much more personal stuff with? I'm not necessarily saying that you're sharing the skeletons in the closet, because look, we all got skeletons in the closet. There's nothing wrong with keeping them locked up in there, right? But, again, talking about, things you might be going through or challenges you're dealing with, more than just how was your day, how you been, surface level stuff. And I'd even say further that that's more common, especially with men. A lot of us men, we tend to have our friendships and relationships are like that. It's very superficial. What's up, dog? How you been? Cool. Hey man, you on that new you on that new NCAA? Yeah, hell yeah. Like, we ain't really talking about nothing versus, something that's much more of substance between, you and your homie. Like, man, bro, going through this thing, what do you think I should do? Getting real input and advice from someone that you trust and you respect. It's invaluable. And when you have that, man, it's a great feeling when you have somebody, or some people in your life that you can open up to. Use the word vulnerable. Sometimes I hate the word because it sounds like you're just like this wet noodle, like you can't be, you know, like in need of rescuing. It's not really that. It just means like you're able to just open up and like share with somebody on a deeper personal level for each other. And when you have that, man, it's a great friendship. It really is something that I think everyone should really work towards. And the sad part is we're in a culture now where everyone is so walled off in many ways. Everyone, you know, no one trusts anybody. Everyone is fake, and we just kind of accepted that and don't put any effort to, or even allow ourselves to actually go beyond that, and we just take it for face value, and then everyone's lonely. You know what I mean? Like the loneliness epidemic, while it's much more significant for men, it's creeping up on women. I've been seeing more and more reports of women being lonely as fuck. You know what I mean? And it doesn't help when we're on social media and all we see is divisive podcast clips about men versus women and dating that only further divides and further establishes that sentiment and feeling that many people are feeling about the other gender and dating, and they're not, you know, men ain't shit, and all these women got bodies under their, you know, got all these bodies, you know, like it just further makes us go to our corners and everyone continue to feel lonely as fuck.
If you don't go deep, it's not going to be a deep friendship
What's
or
up,
a deep
Jane?
relationship. And sometimes I think for Gen Z, it's hard to open up. Like, I know other...
That's why
like,
you're lonely?
other people
I already
my
know,
age,
bro.
It's hard to open up. What comes naturally is scrolling on TikTok, scrolling on Instagram, and you can be out in public and just hide behind your phone. Like, you don't have to open up. You don't have to share that you're having a bad day, you're having a good day.
Yeah.
You can just hide in your phone and just keep scrolling. It makes it so hard. Like, no wonder we don't open up.
If you're a hopeful romantic or hopeless romantic, but your dating experience is basically saying that you're going to be single for the rest of your life, I have the perfect video for you. This is coming from someone who's never been in a relationship, and I'm in my 20s right now. If you think about it logically speaking, if I've never been in a relationship for the first 20 plus years of my life, no one's really shown interest in me, that's how it's going to be for the rest of my life. But
so many of us fall into that trap. We're like, oh, like it would have happened by now. I used to say that to myself so much. It would have happened by now. Like, I'm 19, I'm 20, I'm 23, I'm 23 now. And sometimes I tell myself, like, oh, it should have happened by now. Like, surely, like, and I'm like looking around frantically and I have to catch myself because I'm like, Christina, your confidence is slipping. Your patience is going to slip as well. Do not sell.
But no, that is not how it works. That is not how life works. First of all, you should go watch my pet theory video, which I already have posted, which I go into a whole other theory that I thought about. But now I'm going to tell you a little anecdote that honestly gives me hope. There was a man in ancient times, and he had a horse, and it died. And everyone said, oh my gosh, that's so horrible. How are you going to make money now? And he said, oh, well, I don't know if it's good or bad. Like, the horse just died. And everyone was like, what? That's a horrible thing. He got a bunch of money for the dead horse, and everyone said, oh my gosh, this is amazing. This is wonderful. This is just your luck. And he said, whoa,
Where are we
I don't
going
know
with
if it's
this?
good or bad. I'm really butchering the story. I'm so sorry. He bought a new horse with the money, obviously, but then his son was riding on the horse, fell off, and broke both of his legs. And everyone said, oh my gosh, this is so horrible. Your son, he broke both of his legs. And still, the farmer, ancient man, said, well, I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing yet. And then a war came, and his son could not be drafted because he broke his legs. And then finally,
Bro, what
the
is she
farmer said,
going on about?
It all worked out in the end. Like I said, I completely butchered that story, but I honestly
Yes,
love
you
thinking
did.
about that as someone who is very anxious and someone who can be very negative.
Anxiety and anxiousness is just summed up in a sentence. You've forgotten how big the world is. Each time I get anxious or nervous about something and I like stress out about when something's going to happen, if it's going to happen, how it's going to happen, like you try to... My thing is I always try to run through every single scenario that could happen, and I try to tell myself, like, I've thought through everything, I know everything that could happen. But really, when you're anxious, you're just forgetting how big the world is. I have to remind myself, like, those videos where they show the world and they zoom out and they just show, like, the sun compared to the earth and then the galaxy compared to the sun, and they just show how big things are. I'm like, Christina, are you really stressing about this right now? Look at how big the universe is and you're stressing about this?
That's so true. That what she's really trying to say, I'll simplify it even more, which is like, don't get wrapped up in the small things, y'all. You know what I mean? You'll be in your own head overthinking this little thing that holds you back, that gets you shell shocked or whatever, when there's so many other more important and bigger things going on in the world and in life for you to even really concern yourself with. Like again, it's another self-imposed situation we could put ourselves in when we allow that to dictate our life. One of the biggest things that drives me up a wall, any family member, I tell this to them, and it's something that I probably should start talking about more, maybe even ranting about more, but it's this. is prime example is when it comes to fear. I refused to ever let fear dictate how I move in life. I refused. And you know, I've been in life and death situations, and that helped me to learn, like, again, going back to this, there's so many other bigger things going on in the world. Like, why would I limit myself because of something I'm a little fearful of or nervous about or anxious about? And I promise you, if you can work through that and not let fear or your anxiety get the best of you, man, there's so many opportunities and things that have happened in my life that I was able to experience, benefit from, because I didn't let the fear or the anxiousness hold me back. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's sad that we are now in a society where we have fear politics. Everything's driven by fear in the media, because what happens, they do a story on this or that, and it's always a fear theme around it to get us to conform. You know what I mean? And I hate that. I hate that we as a country, as a society, have accepted that. After 9/11, bro, it changed everything. The Patriot Act and all that changed everything. It made everything about fearing us into submission, fearing us into compliance. And I think we need to be more fearless, right? We need to be more fearless. Not only as a society, but bringing it back to this, I kind of went more macro view and everything, but bringing it back to an individual level, man, be fearless in what it is you want to do with your life and the opportunities, man. Don't let shit hold you back. Don't be scared of an opportunity. Go for it. You miss 100% of the shots you'd never take. And again, we can apply this even further, and don't be fearful or anxious about shooting your shot or talking to somebody, giving someone a chance. You know, investing some of your time and energy into somebody. You know, you never know. Like, it's just like going to Vegas, bro. You might hit it big. You might get 21 on that first pool in blackjack, or you might hit the craps table and crap out. Like, you never really know what the cards are going to be dealt to you. All you can really do is play the hand that's given to you to the best of your fucking ability and max it for as much as you can. And that's been one of my life strategies that has allowed me to thrive and be successful, not only professionally, but in my personal life. Now, I'm not saying my personal life is perfect. Even this year, maybe one day I'll talk about it later this year, I've had the most mind-blowing fuck shit ever happen to me in my life this year. And I've managed to keep my shit together. But for those of you that have been around, you'll notice that, like, my content, there was a big gap in content for a few months, most of this year. You know what I mean? Because I was dealing with some real crazy shit. And again, I'm telling you, as someone that I'm still recovering from the shit, that you got to play the cards that dealt with you. Don't be fearful, work through it, and allow yourself to shine. You know what I'm saying? That's really what it comes down to. Allow yourself to shine. Yeah, shunning fear leads to expansion of thought and possibility. 100%. 100%. What's up, Ms. K? Live, laugh, love. It's a great 3 things to keep in your mind, for sure. Yeah, I was there. I always think about you, bro. What's up, Scrap?
You're stressing about that guy, that girl that maybe didn't text you back, like, immediately, and you're stressed about if she even likes you, if you said the wrong thing. Like, stop stressing. I like this story, actually, like this story about the horse and how, like, things seem bad at the time because they broke his legs and all this stuff. Like, it just shows you, like, you can't see the full picture. You're just so zoomed in on the bad thing, and you've forgotten, like, the bigger picture and the fact that things could actually work out better than you expected. It's a terrible story, but he had to break his legs to not be potentially killed in a war. Like, things are happening for you. You can just never, like, you can never see it in the moment. Gen Z refused to get hurt. This might sound stupid, like, who wants to get hurt? But if you don't open up, you don't get hurt.
I think I'm going to say this last point on this video, even though there's the rest of it, and I'll link to below so you can watch the rest of it, because I think I've made my point clear, and I think what I've said so far, on top of what she's added or said, really just is, you know, it's made the point clear. But on this point specifically about not opening up to get hurt, another hot take from MoonDawg. All right, I believe it takes heartbreak to allow you to get to a point where you can actually love. Let me run that back. I really believe that everyone has to experience a true heartbreak at least once before you can then go beyond that to then when you do find someone else, then actually have something more meaningful. And the reason I believe that is because you really develop who you are as a person, your character, through your failures and through pain and heartache. It really, those things really mold a person in their character. When you go through hardships, when you go through a heartbreak, when you deal with a pain of something, maybe you lost a family member, which we all are going to experience, right? All of our family members, everyone dies. Like, we know that. Taxes and death, only two things guaranteed in this life if you're in America, right? When you experience those hardships and those trials and tribulations and the heartache, it really builds your character. I think it really then also allows you to evaluate what's really important to you in your life, what values, what things, what material or otherwise are important to you. After you've gone through these challenges, it really builds and tests someone's character. And a lot of times what we're seeing now with Gen Z is they don't want to do it. Everyone wants to be safe and not allow. Now, I'm not saying you want to, willingly go out there and expose yourself to be hurt. That's not what I'm trying to say. You know what I mean? It's like, hey guys, someone come hurt me. No, that's not what I'm saying, y'all. What I'm saying is you just have to be open enough to by open meaning you got to be able to take those shots to allow yourself to potentially fail so that then you can learn from it, build from it. You got to be opened up enough to take those shots in a relationship to then potentially break up and have your heart broken so that you can learn from it, learn about yourself. You walk away, you do like a self eval about what went down in that relationship, what you could have done better, what you now want from somebody else that maybe the person you were with didn't provide. You really take all of that and you learn from it and you apply it to your future shit. And that when people can do that successfully, it builds your character and it sets you up for greater successes. I have been successful in my career through many of my failures. Try to do many different businesses. They fucking failed. Guess what? In the process of that, I learned skill sets that then worked and play a part to the shit that I do to this very day, whether it's content creation, whether it's social media, and I self-taught myself so many things, video editing and graphics and all these many different things because of me trying to start businesses in the past that involved many of those different things. While I learned skill sets, the business didn't work, but I learned skills that have now been extremely valuable to me. And that's kind of my point with all this, is opening yourself up for opportunities, for someone else that you're going to give it a shot to. Yes, it can blow up in your face, but it doesn't mean that it's all bad. If you can get your head out of your ass, essentially, not have this pity party and really sit there and think about what it is you could have done or what you can do in the future to make things better for yourself. I think that's really, really the key. It really is. You know what I mean?